Hey, and welcome back to the ninth installment of Because of Mr. Terupt by Rob Bouye. We're going to dig right in. We are in January, and Mr. Terupt's class is planned for this best party ever because all their links have reached to the floor, their class reward system. And let's dig in. We've got all of our notes behind us again if you're taking notes. Whoop, whoop. And please send me a copy in my email so I can give you a shout out on my next video. And let's go. We're on Jessica. Act 7, Scene 1. The class bubbled with energy. Mr. Terupt had just attached the last link needed for our paper chain to touch the floor. The links were hard to come by with the likes of Peter and Alexi in our classroom, but we did it. Congratulations, you've earned your free day, Mr. Terupt said. A class party day. Peter couldn't believe it. None of us could, really. But Peter was beside himself. The only thing he could wrap his brain around was going outside to play in the snow. Don't forget your snow stuff, California girl, he said to me. I didn't need reminding. It was all I could think about, but not because I was excited. What could be wrong here? What could be wrong here? She's from California, and they had one rule for this day was that everybody had to have their snow stuff. Now, I'm from Georgia, and I ain't got no snow stuff, so I can see what she might be concerned about. Act 7, Scene 2. I raised my hand tentatively, and waited for Mr. Terupt to call on me. It was nearly time to go home. I couldn't wait any longer. You have a question, Jessica? Yes, sort of, I said. I have a problem. I don't have any snow pants. I didn't need them in California. Silence. Can you imagine? We started off the chat with the class bubbled with energy, and now she's like, sorry, I'm going to be the one to hold you back. Can you imagine how silent it was in that room? Silence. It was like I sucked all the excitement out of the classroom with a gigantic vacuum hose. Peter glared at me. I couldn't look at him. Then I saw Luke raise his hand. Mr. Terupt called on her. Lukester, I have a pair of snow pants Jessica can borrow. They're my sister's old ones. That a baby, Lukester, Peter yelped. Saved. Thanks, Lukester. That's very nice of you, Mr. Terupt said, looking in my direction. I'm sure Jessica will take them. I could only nod. Yes, Peter yelled. This is going to be great. I thought so too, especially after Luke's generosity. I always thought Luke only cared about himself. Maybe I was wrong to prejudge him. Mr. Terupt sat at his desk smiling. He reminded me of the old professor in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Did he know everything? So, Mr. Terupt is again, we're inferring, but he has this nice little smile about him at his desk, some contentment that's like, things are going pretty good. And I think it's important that we mention that Luke offered to save the day and bring Jessica some snowshoes. Offered snow pants. It's a little gesture, but for that class right now, it's everything because it's saving their free day. Offered snow pants to Jessica. So I think that shows another great thing he did. All right, here we are. And she's learning about him too, because she even said, I thought he only thought about himself. So now they're learning about each other as well. On to Luke. 27 links. That's how many it took for the chain to hit the floor. I was wrong. I had estimated 26. Mr. Terupt had us estimate the final number when we only had 5. Most everybody jotted down random guesses, but I took a ruler and measured the length of what we had and the length left to reach the floor. The real problem was that the links were all different sizes, a variable that I couldn't control. I averaged the links that were hanging and used that to help me come up with 26. All right, gang, Mr. Terupt said. 27 links. Let's see if anyone guessed that. He had all our guesses stuffed in an empty coffee can. I was hoping to be the closest. Maybe nobody got it right. He pulled our little scraps of paper out one by one. 21, 30, dollar word, 50. Everyone laughed except me. 23, aha, he said. Here's one. 27. I lost. I can't believe I was wrong. And the winner is Anna. She must have guessed. There's no way she could have figured it out. Anna walked up to Mr. Terupt with her head held high. At least the winner wasn't Peter or Alexia. Congratulations, Anna, Mr. Terupt said. He handed her a homework pass. She was all smiles. I didn't need one of those anyway. Yay, Anna, Jessica said. Way to go! But wait, Mr. Terupt said. There seems to be one more estimate that's correct. Must be Luke's, I heard someone say. Drum roll, please, Mr. Terupt said. Back. And the second winner is Peter. No way, I screamed inside my head. Of course Peter made a major production of walking to the front of the room and taking a dramatic bow. Thank you, he said. This is a great honor. Mr. Terupt handed him a homework pass. Get out of here, he said. Everyone laughed, except me. Peter flashed his homework pass in my face. The Elmer sneakers didn't bother me, but this did. I felt hot. My face and ears burned. I turned lobster red. I could feel it. I was gonna get even, I thought. The chain has touched the floor, Mr. Terupt announced. It's time for a free day. My colleagues, $1 we're in for a good treat. Mr. Terupt told us that we would be going outside. Great, I thought. But what's the catch? Was he going to tell us to bring our shovels, $1 to find out how many scoops it would take to clear the parking lot? Nope, just snow pants, hats, boots, and mittens, $1. We had the okay from Miss Williams to play in the snow as long as everyone had the proper snow clothes. Jessica threw us the curveball, and boy was it a bender. She didn't have snow pants. Talk about hitting us with unexpected. So who comes to the rescue? Me. I had to. Plus, I liked Jessica. She was serious about school, and I didn't want to miss the chance to inoculate, Peter with a snowball. All right, so again, we mentioned the snowball effect happening in this story, and I think it's very important to mention here that Luke wants to have it out with Peter during their party. So, because he lost not just because he lost the estimate game, but because when Peter won, he shoved it in his pants. He's like bragging about it. So, mad at Peter. He's throwing it in his face, right? So it's one thing to win a contest, but it's another to throw it in the other person's face. Not sportsmanlike. So he's mad at Peter for bragging about winning homework. I'm going to put a capital HW. Got it? Homework. Okay. For winning the homework pass. And wants revenge. He said, I'm going to get him, and I can't wait to go out there and throw a snowball at him. So, might come up. It seems pretty important, and that's also a very ill feeling that someone should have. Ain't nobody got time for that, for feeling that kind of revenge and wanting somebody back for something. Sheesh. Jeffrey. It's not your fault. That's what Jessica had said to me. Remember, he let out his big secret, and we learned a whole lot about him, and he's only told Jessica, and he got so emotional he had to go to the bathroom there, but it's a lot of information. It's not your fault. That's what Jessica had said to me, and that was what I kept repeating in my head. The only other person to ever tell me that was Michael. It was just before he died. I have a hard time believing it, but his words still make me feel a little better. I need his words, and Jessica's, because I know Mom and Dad blame me. They sure don't love me. Why else are they so silent? They don't speak to me. Rarely, and they never speak to each other. Dad has started going to work again, but Mom mopes around the house. She hasn't been out of her pajamas since Michael's funeral. Christmas was tough again this year. It was our second one without Michael. Not that we celebrated either time. Dad got a tree this year, though. It showed up one day in our living room. I put a few decorations on it. Mom pretended it wasn't there. And that's the end of the chapter and the month. So, wow. Not only did he have to endure all of this and feel like he couldn't save his brother, but his parents aren't speaking now. I have run out of room. I'm going to stick it on the bottom here before we pick up next time. Actually, I'm going to start back up here. Stick with me. Okay, parents aren't speaking. I hope your notes are a lot more organized than mine. I'm going to box off Jeffrey here. So parents don't speak at home, and he feels like that's his fault too. They haven't celebrated Christmas in, says, in 2 years. Dad has just gone back to work, but mom is still in her pajamas. So that's over a year, almost 2 years, I think. So a really long time for Jeffrey to have to live in that environment. And again, a lot of crummy stuff that's happening at home that leads him to be this way. It was our second one without Michael, not that we celebrated either time. So they've been through 2 Christmases. Mom's in her pajamas, so just taking a really, really tough time. And Jeffrey feels like they're blaming him for not saving his brother. So a lot. And now we're going into February, and I'm guessing it's going to be party time. It starts off with Peter. I ran into the classroom. Does everybody have their stuff? I yelled. Mr. T looked up from his desk. Calm down, Peter, he said. Does everyone have their stuff? I said again, still excited. Calm down, Mr. T said again. Take a deep breath. I took a deep breath. Then, in a normal voice, I said, does everyone have their stuff? I think so, Mr. T said. Let's go then, let's go, I said. We'll go out later, Peter. Besides, we need to take attendance and lunch count and morning announcements. Mr. T also figured if we went out and got soaking wet first thing, we'd be miserable for the rest of the day. He had a good point, but I still wanted to get outside. We spent the morning spread out all over the place playing different games. I played categories with Mr. T, Luke, and Jeffrey. The letter B came up on the dice. We raced through putting down our ideas, and then it was time to share. We took turns going down the list, and then the item things at the beach came up. Jeffrey shared, then Luke, then Mr. T. Then it was my turn. I leaned in and said, babes. Who brings babies to the beach? Luke said. Not babies, babes, Jeffrey said. I almost died. But wait, it gets better. Our very own brainiac, Luke, just sat there watching us laugh. Then he said, what do you mean? Can you believe that? He didn't know babes. I freaked. Holy smokes, I said. What rock are you living under? Mr. T jumped in at that point. Easy, Peter, Mr. T said. Lots of girls don't appreciate that term. It sounds as if you don't respect them. And part of being a man is knowing how to respect women. Oh, Luke said. Girls. His light bulb had suddenly turned on. Mr. T looked at me and smiled, shaking his head. Mr. T's the best, I thought. That was the last time I got to hang out with him. Whoa. That's the end of the chapter. Did you hear that sentence? What? Mr. T looked at me and smiled, shaking his head. Mr. T's the best, I thought. That was the last time I got to hang out with him. What? And now a look. This next chapter, look for Luke, only a couple sentences long. So we know when chapters are really short like that, we got to really watch out. Look, they get short because the author packs in a powerful punch with really short phrases. Are you ready, Luke? Peter thought he was so smart all of a sudden. He won a homework pass off a lucky guess, and he confused me in his categories. Big deal. I resolved, $word, to get him. Yep. You stuck on that revenge? Jeffrey. Never thought I'd play a game with my teacher, but I did. I played categories with Terupt and Luke and Peter, and I learned that I'm even smarter than Luke at some things. But that doesn't make him out to be a bad kid, just a dork. As smart as he is, Luke doesn't make a stink about it. I like him for that. But Peter, sometimes he gets on my nerves. He's always doing stuff and never gets in trouble. I knew he was just waiting to get outside. I had a surprise for him. It would have been better if I never got involved. If I just stayed hating school. None of this would have happened. What? What has happened? What is going on now? Jeffrey wants to get back at Peter. And what has happened to Mr. Terupt? Peter. Maybe he has a story. Finally, we were outside. The snow was perfect, the kind that packed and formed super snowballs. I scooped up a handful as we walked toward the field, squeezing it over and over. No snowballs, Mr. T had told us before coming out. We reached the corner and I stuffed the snowball in my pocket. It was too perfect to just toss down. It wasn't like I was going to throw it. I ran out onto the untouched field. The field was perfect too. There was a mountain of snow right in the middle that we climbed up. I was already standing at the top when I saw Lexi making her way up the side. I thought about how she'd been really quiet lately, like she was down in the dumps. Maybe that was why I thought knocking her into the snow would snap her out of her trance. We see where this is going. We know Peter. We know what he does. Here we go. Without thinking it through, typical, something I never do. Anyway, I slid down the side and gave her a little shove. She tumbled backward. I laughed hard. She didn't. I ran toward a smaller mound of snow. That was how the game started. Everyone joined in, running back and forth between the two mounds. We knocked each other down as we ran and we wrestled each other off the tops. I'm not sure how it happened, but somehow I got knocked down. I was watching out for Lexi when somebody shoulder checked me from behind. I fell off the mountain and landed on my belly. Lexi came running over and kicked snow in my face. I was fuming. It's one thing to knock each other down, but kicking snow in someone's face? That's just wrong. I was angry. I got on my knees and bam! I got knocked down on my face again. Now I was fuming and steaming. I pushed myself up to see who did it when bam! Same thing happened. This time the person held my face down too. I was so mad I jumped up, pulled that snowball out of my pocket, and chucked it for all it was worth. Yikes. Jessica, Act 8, Scene 1. You could hear our big, heavy snow boots thumping down the sidewalk until we turned the corner and dashed out onto the field. A monstrous hill of snow loomed right in the middle. Naturally, we all sprinted toward it and clambered to the top. Then we jumped, taking the plunge into waist-deep, powdery white. It didn't take long before the boys started taking each other down. Peter seized the opportunity and sent Alexia flying down the side of the mountain. She landed on her back, all splayed out. Peter laughed and ran. Alexia sat up, and I could tell how mad she was by the lines in her contorted face. Suddenly, I thought of a way to get Peter. He wouldn't expect me. Remember, this is Jessica. So now she thought of a way to get him. He'd be keeping his eyes on Alexia, expecting her to retaliate. I collared Danielle and Anna. Here's what we're going to do, I said. It wasn't a suggestion, more like I simply told them how my ingenious plan would be executed. Act 8, Scene 2. We hid behind the mountain of snow. Peter came running toward us and scampered right up the side. While Peter stood on top like the king of all dorks, we snuck up the back side of the hill. Danielle threw her shoulder into Peter, knocking him off balance. He wavered. I blasted him with my shoulder, coming from the opposite direction. Anna gave the last little nudge from behind. The 1, 2, 3 punch was too much for Peter to handle. He squawked like a dying seagull as he flailed through the air, landing face down. Alexia ran over and kicked snow in his face the instant he picked his head up. Danielle, Anna, and I had just reached the other mound when we turned around and saw Peter fire the snowball. See a lot more things. A lot more things adding up to this big thing. Alexia, this is Luke. Alexia kicked snow in Peter's face. He griped and whined as he sat up to wipe the snow from his eyes. Let's get him, Lukester, Jeffrey said. Remember, like half the class wants retaliation on this kid. He doesn't have a chance. Let's get him, Lukester, Jeffrey said. I felt like a couple of snipers, $word, sizing up on our target. Jeffrey slid down the smaller mound, hurried across the snow, and shoved Peter's face back into the white powder. Peter never saw it coming, and Jeffrey was long gone by the time Peter sat up to wipe his face again. That was when I attacked. So there's got a lot of people in on this. That is when I attacked, and I lost my place. That's when I attacked. Okay. I blasted him from behind, knocking him down, and held his face in that snow extra long. This reversal, $word, of typical roles, with me being the victor, felt awesome. It was one of the greatest upsets, $word, of all time. My victory celebration lasted only a second before everything was shattered, $word. Ruh-roh. Oh no. What's going to happen here with the chapters this small? Jeffrey. Peter had it coming. I got him good, and so did Lukester. They say all's fair in war. Peter's not a crybaby, but all of us ganging up on him was too much. He got crazy upset and chucked that ice ball. Anna. I didn't want anybody to get hurt. Danielle. Why did I go along with Jessica's plan? I could have said no. I should have said no. It was supposed to be fun. We were all getting pushed into the snow. Peter would have knocked any of us down. He's always fooling around. It was supposed to be funny. How could it turn out so bad? Jessica, Act 8, Scene 3. I don't think any of us were malicious in our attacks on Peter. It was the sudden onslaught that made him throw that snowball. We didn't know. I started it. Luke. I was running away from Peter, so I didn't actually see it. I saw something else. The twisted, $word, faces of Danielle and Anna and Jessica. Peter. I didn't know Mr. T was going to be right there. Danielle. Mr. Terupt stood up, right in the way. Jessica. I still remember Alexia's scream. Piercing. Horrified. These are going fast now. Peter. I didn't want to hurt anyone. Luke. Mr. Terupt should have stopped us. He let it go way too far. Peter. I wish I could take it back. I didn't mean to throw it. Anna. Please let my teacher be okay. Danielle. Dear God, it's Danielle. I really need you down here. Mr. Terupt needs you. And then we have part 2. And that's the end of February too. So a lot of things going on here. And we can kind of see how all of these things have built up to this huge, huge event. And now they're praying for Mr. Terupt. They don't know what's going to go on. Obviously, this is something the party really, really gone bad. Stay with me next time, guys. We're going to find out what happens. Lead on.